You know what's wild? Only 1% of the podcasters ever make it to episode 21. 7 lessons we have learned while recording 21 episodes of the BNB podcast. Over past 6 months, we have recorded 23 episodes, had 5,000 views on YouTube, 70 hours of content creation and production, and almost 200 subscribers on YouTube.
Hey guys, welcome back to the BNB podcast, and this is episode number 23. And it's just three of us again, and we would want to stick to the schedule because this is how we got started, right? And lesson number one, as Chanki started, like these are 7 things that we have learned from 21 episodes of podcasting. Lesson number one, it's really important to keep a strong intent behind starting. For us to get started with the branding and building podcast, we wanted to build our personal brands. At least we wanted to experience how would that journey look like while being, of course, being stupid in front of the camera. We never had face cameras in our life, so we never did this. And we wanted to get started, and we simply got started. So the intent was to build personal brand, and uh, that is what the name suggests as well, right? The branding and building podcast. We're building something or the other, always trying to experiment with stuff. So this is just a part where we document our journeys on and sharing things, learning, sounding stupid, just a path of self discovery, so that whatever we do next, it doesn't become as challenging as this has been since the last 5 to 6 months of creating this. So yeah, I guess have a very strong intent behind starting it. And one of the other things is that don't do it for numbers, because our goal is, since day one when we started, I guess it was very clear that we want to go to 21 episodes, and that was the core, right? So nothing else mattered. And yeah, we're here, and now the game gets better. Your thoughts?
Thoughts. I like to get a little behind the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like before we got started, I remember having this kind of conversations always with you and Janki over dinners. We've been meeting every week consistently over dinners, and we were discussing in lengths, like couple of hours talking about uh, business, digital domain, products, all of that, and thinking that if this has to go out, if this kind of discussions go out, it can really help a lot of people, right? So I think in for me it was that moment where I felt like this really has to go out, and this is some juicy conversations, as we even the juicy word started like that, right? So it was really juicy conversations we were having, and this was supposed to go out, and that can really help people, and I'm guessing that it has started to appear that it is helping people. So yeah, I mean, that's how we got started, and of course, like, rest is uh, known and yet to be explored.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Like Neil and you both mentioned about how we got started to just start documenting our conversations and our discussions about everything that we've been working on behind the scenes, which is our life basically. We did not start with an intent to reach a lot of people, but it was rather just our journey to curate it and bring it out to the world. But when I look back and see how many people have been actively following our journey on different platforms, it brings me a joy of how helpful and useful everything that we have curated so far has been to them. And it's also the way we select and pick topics for that matter. It's not something that's always trendy out in the world and we just pick those and we talk about it. So there's just a very inside out approach that we take towards the topics that we talk about in general, and we try to document in it. So any thoughts about, anyone would want to give an insight about how we go about selecting topics and everything that we talk about on this platform?
Yeah, I think the most advice that I have seen so far in the on the web is about collecting topics, and coming up with different ideas, and having recorded 10 different episodes, and then publishing it one by one. whenever somebody talks about building a personal brand, they always mention this kind of stuff, and that is what is the most important or most difficult thing that the receiver, as a receiver, would understand. Like, if I have to tell someone, like, record 10 episodes of a podcast, and he has never faced a camera in his or her life, it's very difficult, right? So I think the switch should be like an accidental thing. Like, we were discussing those things anyway over dinners, and we decided that let's come up and talk just like we were discussing, or discuss just like we are discussing, and then just have the camera in front, and that's what we are doing, right? We never intended to look like a professional blogger, or at least at the beginning. Now we do have to think about a lot of stuff, and we will discuss on that as well. But I think in the beginning it's very important to just go out there and speak about whatever you know. So I think the topic itself is going to be you. What you know, what are your passions, what is your taste, what kind of things you consume from the internet. All of those kind of the topics that you can take. You can get inspired from anything that you have read so far on the internet. You can just share about that. So I think that's very important. And one more thing is that when you are deciding on topic, you don't have to worry about that if it is going to be a viral on the first attempt or not. You don't have to be, as Janki said, you don't have to think about what is trendy. Of course, if there is something trendy and you just learned about it, you may want to share it, and that's completely okay. But I think uh, the key important decision over here would be you talk something you are comfortable with. So I think for us, digital business is something which we are comfortable talking, and we started like that, and I think that makes sense. That's what I think about what to start
Yeah.
in terms of topics.
Yeah, I mean, if I see from a perspective about from the books that we have already talked about and shared on the podcast, be it rework,
Yeah.
reevaluating of what you think about and how you approach work, still like an artist, finding your own tree, finding your interest, and then curating before creating, and then show your work. So
Yeah.
all of these three foundational books that I would say that actually becomes a foundation for what the work that we do is been put into good practice with the podcast or any work that we've been doing.
Yeah.
uh, like you've already shared your thoughts, so I'll just make sure that the count is there. Number one, make sure that you start with a strong intent. Number two, don't do it for numbers. Don't worry about picking a viral topic that is going to blow the internet up. And number three, when you think about podcasting or even just sitting in front of the camera, whatever you decide around you, right? You speak about yourself. uh, so the first thing you would want to understand is, what do you want to talk about? You talk about yourself, as Neil said, your interests, your inspirations, the books you read, the blogs you read, Substacks, people you follow, YouTube videos, podcasts, anything that you're doing. Just make sure you curate first before you get too excited about creating. Don't even do that unless you've reached 21 episodes. I guess that is what our journey has been as well. So yeah, three things so far. Number four, right? So make sure that whenever you're about to start, do a dry run, right? There has to be an episode zero, which we did. And so we're it's a retrospect. When we did episode zero, we were sure it was going to go out. We did it with complete intent. We recorded it, we also edited it, we made sure there was some bit of scripting. And that's when we realized that, okay, fuck, this is something that we can do. We picked a topic which was marketing. We ended up talking for around 40-45 minutes. And then we realized that, okay, if this is something we have to do for the next 21 episodes, we should be fine. And that is the biggest confidence booster. Like episode number zero is your biggest confidence booster, because that was the first time we were sitting in front of a camera. We were recording ourselves for the first time. So yeah, do episode zero with an intent that it's going out. If you're doing it knowing that it is never going to go out, you'll suck at it. And eventually, even if it goes out, you'll suck at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, do an episode zero. Thoughts on episode zero?
I think that's completely right. And if it is something that you really want to publish, you can go ahead and publish it as well. So, yeah. Another thing I really wanted to talk about is consistency, because this is very important, right? In the beginning, we said that this is going to be the activity that we really want to do it for next 21 episodes. We decided that we'll be consistent, right? And we stayed there. We did every week one episode, and that's how we got uh, to this point where we were able to actually have 21 episodes out. So consistency is the key. I think the most important or critical factor over here is you need to do you, because whatever works for your schedule makes sense. For us, it was every week we can spend 2 to 3 hours of our time. So that was for us. For you, something else could be there. So you just need to figure out what works for you, and then you can make sure that whatever happens, you just stay to the schedule that you are following, and stay consistent on that. So yeah, I think that's one thing that the one should consider while thinking about podcasting.
Don't let your motivation drive your actions while you're starting. You might be very enthusiastic to start, but it will fizzle out very soon until you reach to point 21, episode 21.
Yeah.
So let your, like Neil just shared, that let your schedule be your guiding light. You have to show up, you have to show up, there's no other way. So yeah, that's how we reached 21, and it's going to be tough initially, but week in week out it becomes a muscle. You just know that okay, it's a weekend, you have to shoot, you have to push it out, and that's how it just works.
Also, one thing is that if you really keep things minimal, I think it will really help. You don't depend a lot on different people. Shoot yourself, edit yourself, do stuff yourself. That will actually, and don't worry too much about the camera angles or the lighting or whatever. We shot an episode which was started really bright and then it got really dark, but we kept it anyway because conversations are more important, right? So I think it should be okay in the beginning, and that's what obscurities are, right? So when you are new, when you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff, I think that makes sense.
And just like everything boils down to sticking to the core, right? The
Yeah.
Keep it as minimal as possible, because everything that you start, like there's going to be a sunk cost. You're going to put in efforts and you would want those efforts to materialize into something. And as we said, don't focus on numbers. If you start making it really heavy with camera angles, with clear audio, it actually happened to us as well,
Yeah.
like background music, the lighting and all of that, and man, you're not going to reach 21 episodes. And that's why we ended up doing some things that are completely stupid, but for us it is pure fulfillment.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing as well. Like if you have to like summarize it, like make sure that you're starting with an intent, make sure that you have a schedule and you're sticking to it. Make sure that you don't get too excited about choosing a topic. Speak everything that intrigues you, interests you. Just curate and just put it out in the world. Keep it minimal. Stick to the core, and yeah, I mean, you should be fine, right? So other than that, there are a few technicalities I would like to talk about. So we've been talking everything that is about mindset, and there are a few technicalities that I would like to cover. So we've been publishing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. YouTube is free, like, but it requires a lot of effort in terms of assets. So you'll need to get someone to design your thumbnails and someone to write description. I would say do it by yourself. Uh, and you can use tools like Canva, Adobe Express, or Figma, but some sense of design is going to be important when you are doing the packaging side of YouTube. So just publish a video there. It's okay, that's easy. But description and YouTube thumbnail is something that demands a lot of energy, a creative energy, I would say. Spotify again is free, and all you need is audio. So from our learnings with audio and video, keep it combined. Like don't record audio and video separately and try to sync it, because that is going to be a lot of editing effort. For us, we do video and audio together, and what we do is just extract audio out of it. If you're an Apple user, if you use Mac OS, you're going to have M4A format, which is not MP3. Apple's is it's just weird. It doesn't allow you to upload any other format than MP3. So use GarageBand to convert it to MP3. That's easy. A YouTube video should do it. And I guess Apple Podcasts, you're publishing there. Make sure that if you're going to upload episode cover art, it is JPEG and not PNG. I'm going into technicalities because trust me, we've faced those issues. PNG would have alpha channels, so your whatever your cover art is, it won't get published, and Apple will say that there's alpha channel, but it won't say that. Just upload JPEG and you should be fine. It took us some time to really get closer to how the Apple systems work. And Apple is the only platform that would charge you an annual fee to keep your podcast running and making it visible. YouTube will give you the most impressions. The most visibility is going to come from YouTube. And I guess for editing, video editing, if you're new, don't be too worried about starting with Premiere Pro or DaVinci or something of that requires a lot of learning curve. I guess stick to uh, very minimal video editors like InShots or Canva or Adobe Express. Yeah, you should be fine there. Any other technical challenge or inputs that you'd like to give? Also have a mic. It's
Yeah,
really important to have a
absolutely.
good mic. Whatever we are using, we can have the link attached to it. I'm guessing it's Digitek. Yeah, so yeah, it's a Digitek mic, and you should be good because audio is really important, right? So uh, anything that I'm missing from the technical
I
side of
think
things?
if you have an iPhone, a lot of people use iPhone as well, just simply recording with
Yeah,
a phone,
yeah.
and then they use some sort of noise reducer applications. Adobe has one of the podcasting platform where they give it for free,
Hmm.
so you can use that as well to clear
Hmm.
out the noise and make your audio much more crisper or clearer.
Hmm.
So I think that way it also works. But I think professional mic would even reduce that time further. So probably spending in a couple of bucks there wouldn't make a lot of difference. So I think it would make a lot of difference. So you should have a professional mic maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess all of our video is through iPhone,
Yeah,
so you don't have to be, you
yeah,
have a very fancy setup. All your lights and angles and all of that cover is just a simple iPhone camera.
yeah,
So if you're using 12, 13, anything should be fine, I guess.
yeah.
You should be okay. uh
And the
one
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry, go on.
So I was just saying, like initial days, you don't think about two, three angles or all
Mhm.
of that because it will basically create a lot of complications while editing, and you may have to switch your scenes, this, that. Think about a lot of things into production. So I think probably you're just fine with one camera. We are
Mm.
fine with one so far,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think you should be fine
Yeah,
initially.
yeah. And one other thing is, I guess, the operational flexibility. I guess as far as you can have close control over all the creative assets, whether it's video, audio, publishing. If it is your core team, it is really good. If you want to delegate it, don't delegate it unless you have a proper systems in place. Like, okay, this is the time we record, this is the time we edit, this is the time it goes live, these are the type of thumbnails we need. If you don't have any of that figured out, don't delegate, because someone else is not going to understand and share the same passion for doing this, because this doesn't give much value up until a point you're doing it for a year or two, right? So it
Absolutely.
doesn't materialize. As Janki said, that it's a business. Think of it as business. You don't see much money in initial years of a business. That's the same with podcasting or any sort of content creation as well. So if you have complete control over the creatives, I guess you will be much more happier than delegating it to someone who doesn't share the same passion or interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so those are technical side of things. Anything you'd want to add?
Just to summarize, it was just a combination of software and hardwares. For hardwares, you just use a mic and a phone. softwares you use, video editing and video to audio conversion apps. For designing you use either Canva or Figma, and that's it. If these are the only things, basically you just need to start. And if you say that you need a lot to start, that's a lie. You can start any given moment that you want. You have some ideas, you want to put it out in the world, stand in front of a camera, shoot episode 0, and that's it. You should be good to go. Everything is free of cost, and yeah, there's no barrier except for you.
And if you think that you don't know any of this, then you are just like us, because we did not know any of this and we were able to
Yeah.
do it. So you probably can too. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. One last thought before we close is that when you do it for yourself, make sure that it aligns with your growth, because personal branding is something that we wanted to learn and we're still pursuing. And after 21, 22, 23 episodes, at what point we'll start moving towards making this more high fidel, making it more what do you say, now the angles will come in, now the packaging will start looking different. That is the goal, right? We still have to keep
Absolutely.
learning, but not before you've reached 20, 21 episodes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
So
will also be incremental. It's not
yeah.
gonna be like
Yeah.
the next time you'll see our video in 4K. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it will be incremental.
yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's all from our end. If there are any technical questions that you'd like for us to give answers to, feel free to interact with our content pieces, whatever platform you are streaming this from. Have a good one. Cheers.